Welcome. My name is Grandma Storm. I write stories for young adults. Today I am reading chapters 36 through 40 in my book, 146 BC. Chapter 36. Senatus bowed his head and wept over the news of Malchus's death. Father and son sat together in their villa near the temple of Melkart in Carthage. Father, be comforted. You have one son yet living, and he is here to help you and Carthage. Senatus grabbed Barak by the shoulders and said, I do thank Jehovah that you are by my side, but I despair that you will die with me in Carthage. Carthage is cursed. Hasdrubal has mismanaged everything. His so-called diplomacy with Rome was meaningless. His skirmishes with the Numidians are disastrous. His preparations for the siege are inadequate. Mother never trusted him. What could I do other than what I have done, groaned Senatus as he turned from his son. In the morning the elders are meeting at the temple. Father, you are not going there, are you? Senatus dropped his eyes. Yes, son. I told Hasdrubal I would. My word is my sacred bond. You know what the priests will say, spat Barak as he jumped to his feet. You know they have only one solution for any crisis. Blood. They will say Melkart will only listen once he is satisfied with sacrifice. Apparently the god is deaf to everything except the screams of babies as they die. The god of the furnace is a devil. Stop it, Senatus cried as he stood to confront his son. Hasdrubal knows I no longer follow the religion of my fathers. He will not require me to participate in the sacrifice. Whatever Hasdrubal knows or allows, little children will die nonetheless. Father, what loyalty do we owe to such perversion? Nicosi and I slipped into the city easily enough. We can slip out again. Mother wants you home. Let us escape tonight. Senatus slumped into his chair. I cannot. There have been business dealings. Father, what are you talking about? Disastrous business dealings. I have lost everything. All my estates are forfeit to Hasdrubal. How can I ever face your mother? Carthage must survive so I can restore all again. Chapter 37. Why did Mara hit me? Hercules grimaced and muttered, Old slaves do not like to lose their position. You pose a threat. It is as simple as that. Wait a few days. Deborah will call for you again. I will go with you. Mara won't bother you then. Besides, I want to show Deborah what we have been doing. You mean what you and Torn have been doing. At the mention of his name, Torn looked up from the scroll on the table and said, True, but you started it. Show me. Torn spread the scroll for Rin to see. Writing is painful, Torn commented with a sigh. Many times I thought whip and chains easier to bear than writing, but it is valuable. This is a way to give knowledge to others without speaking. Writing can be sent when a man cannot go, and it can be stored, like in the library in Alexandria. This could be useful to my people. Rin nodded in agreement and pointed at the scroll and asked, What does this say? Come on, prodded Torn. Hercules taught you too. Rin sighed, furrowed her brow, and concentrated on the letters on the scroll. She looked up with a surprised look on her face. You wrote about me. Torn smiled. I have written my story, your story, and Hercules' story. We are all alike. lost our families, but found a new place. Mara scowled at Rin, but behind her back. Hercules was sitting beside Deborah, reading to her the story of Torn and the legends of the North. How could anyone believe such tales? Asked Deborah. Hercules turned to her. Faith comes by hearing. These are the tales told by the elders in the villages at the end of the world. The story of the Jews and their God are unknown to them. Deborah looked out to sea. Someday, the whole world will know that Jehovah is the creator and the lawgiver. Yes, returned Hercules, I believe you are right. In a sense, they already know. Do not the clouds by day and the stars by night testify to the glory of Jehovah? Deborah turned to Rin and asked, What do you think? Rin lifted her eyebrows. I prayed to Freya day and night when I was captured. She gave me food and protected me, but she did not take me home. Is there a God that can undo what has been done? If Jehovah would take you to your home again, would you believe in him? I asked Freya if she could not help me, that she would lead me to the God that could. Ah, see, Hercules, said Deborah, turning to the old Greek. See, we will begin the conversion of the ends of the earth with the faith of this one girl from the north. Turning back to Rin, she said, Then let us begin. Your name is no longer Rin. From now on, your name is Ruth. Ruth? Repeated Rin. My name is now Ruth? Yes, confirmed Deborah with a smile. Ruth. Mara glowered at the slave girl when no one was looking. Chapter 38. The screams of the sacrifice spilled from the temple into the streets below. Fathers wept as they gave their sons and daughters to the furnace of Melkart. They prayed that the sacrifice of their loins would spare Carthage from Rome. At least their wives would not see their babies starve. It was better the little children died in holy sacrifice, wasn't it? But then why did the mothers weep until there were no more tears to give? Sonata stood in silent witness of the sacrifice in the shrine of Melkart. Hasdrubal spoke in his ear. Now you will see the salvation of Melkart. These sacrifices are of the most noble families. He dropped his voice. Even my own nephew. Melkart will not fail to hear our petitions. The God of your Jewish wife, Jehovah, has no power to save. You will see what Melkart and Tanit can do. Then you will return to the faith of your fathers. Sonata said nothing, although he witnessed the horror in silence. Inside his mind, he screamed like the dying children. No new strategies were suggested in the meeting of the elders that followed the temple sacrifices. Sonatus reported of Barak's stealthy entrance into Carthage, the death of Malchus, and the tragic wreck of the ship from Iberia. Nothing, growled Hasdrubal to Sonatus, but bad news comes from you. I will not defend myself before you or this council, returned Sonatus with vehemence. We are at war for the life of Carthage. I will overlook your rash insinuations. With planning and action, we can yet throw off the siege of Rome. Intelligence of Roman strength was discussed by the Council of Elders. Countermeasures were analyzed. Opinions were weighed. Hasdrubal gave assignments to all present and stood. Sonatus was appointed the task of assessing remaining supplies. Sonatus stood also and bowed to the council. The rest of the elders rose as if to go. I will report to you all tomorrow on the quantities of supplies remaining in the city, declared Sonatus. Sonatus left the council chamber. The remaining men listened to his steps as he hurried down the stairs and onto the street below. Hasdrubal sat. The balance of the council gathered around him. This son of Sunatus, Barak, how did he get into the city so easily? How did he happen to witness the sinking of the ship I ordered? His mother is a Jewess. Sunatus and his whole family are fallen into apostasy. I question their allegiance to Carthage. Perhaps the efficacy of today's sacrifice was compromised because of these unbelievers among us, namely Sunatus and his son. Gray heads nodded. Old tongues agreed. Sunatus and his son were to blame. Chapter 39. The two girls sat side by side on the divan overlooking the harbor. A scroll was spread on the table before them. Deborah was reading. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make any unto thee graven images. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Remember the Sabbath. I never knew, observed Ruth, that one day was different from another. There were times of planting and harvest, summer and winter, but for me, days flowed one into another. Honor thy father and thy mother. I think of more and far every day. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. What is that? Ruth wondered aloud. A man should have only one wife and be happy with her. Oh, I think I understand. Deborah continued, Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. What does false witness mean? Don't lie. Oh. Thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's house, wife, or anything that belongs to thy neighbor. That means be content with what you have, pondered Ruth. Precisely, responded Deborah. All these laws were given by Jehovah to the prophet Moses. Deborah rolled the scroll. The two girls sat in companionable silence, looking at the sea. Why did you change my name to Ruth? Deborah smiled and answered, It is very like Ren, is it not? Besides, it humored me to give you a proper name rather than your heathen one. Also, Ruth, like you, was from another people. She came to believe in Jehovah like Hercules had. Maybe you will too. Ruth is honored by my nation. From her lineage came the king of Israel, David. Someday there will be an even greater king than David. How do you know that? Hercules. He first read about the future king in the scrolls in Alexandria. Ask him sometime. Now, let's practice walking. Ruth slid her arm around Deborah and helped her to her feet. Put your heels down, stand with your feet flat, lean on me and straighten your back. Deborah grimaced but did as Ruth instructed her. Mara came in the room with a tray. She no longer shrieked at Ruth but frowned and mumbled something about doctors know better, put down the tray and left. Slide your foot forward. I can't. Try. Now shift your weight to the other foot. Maybe tomorrow. Let me sit. Ruth helped Deborah onto the couch. Beads of sweat glistened on the crippled girl's brow. Give me a drink. As Ruth lifted the cup, she noticed the odd color and bad smell of its contents. To Deborah, she said, What is this? Medicine from the doctors. It is nasty stuff, but Mara says it helps me. Does it? It must. I'm still here. What if you stop taking this medicine? I have wondered the same myself. I won't drink it today. Rub my feet. They hurt. Chapter 40. In order to construct war machines, we need rope, wood, and iron. Our supplies of these essentials are gone. Unless a ship can run the blockade. Sunatus broke off his report in mid-sentence, scowled, and slumped into a chair. Hasdrubal stood before the Council of Elders in the offices of the Admiralty and said, "Inventories acknowledged. We have a catalog of our supplies, which is basically nothing. What course of action does the Council prescribe?" Silence. The Council of Elders steeped in the gloom of defeat. "Do something," declared a voice from the back of the hall. Heads turned to see Barak stride forward. Sunatus grimaced. "Ah, yes, Barak, the younger son of Sunatus," began Hasdrubal, "lately returned from a failed mission to the north and the wreck of my ship. What sage advice do you offer this council of your betters?" "Do something, I say," Barak asserted as he faced the council. "Every day the Romans decimate our guard, dump more dirt to destroy our harbor, and tighten the noose of the port blockade. Unless some action is taken, whether for good or ill, the Romans will simply wait for Carthage to starve." "Forgive the impetuous voice of the young," muttered Sunatus. "Sit, Barak, younger son of the noble Sunatus," mocked Hasdrubal with a wave of his hand to an empty seat. "We, your elders, desire the wisdom of your fresh pink lips." Barak ignored the taunt and strode to the head of the table. "Iron?" challenged Barak. "You need iron? Gather metal from each household. What good are cooking pots if there is nothing to put in them? Rope? Tell the women to cut their hair. Surely they will sacrifice vanity for their lives. Gather it, twist it into rope. It can be done. All is not lost if you would just get off your backsides and do something." "Good, good. I see how youth lectures the aged," scoffed Hasdrubal. "Tell me, Barak, son of Sunatus, with your unsullied insight, how would your beloved Jehovah advise our god Melkart? Perhaps the sacrifice of our sons and daughters were not meat enough. Perhaps your God also thirsts for noble blood. Then will he aid Melkart to shove Rome from our shore?" "Maybe the blood of an ugly bull or two would be sweeter to Melkart than the blood of our beautiful children," mocked another elder. "Good idea," snickered another man. "Maybe Melkart is waiting for a little assist from a few more gods." Sunatus rose from his chair. He walked to his son's side. Straightening his spine and lifting his chin, he stood defiant and proud. "Though young, my son gives good counsel." "Though young," repeated Hasdrubal. "Your son and heir is a damn fool to dare to speak before me and these men. His mocking voice is not to be tolerated under any circumstances." "I am not mocking anyone," protested Barak. "I am trying to talk sense." Sunatus was not surprised at the next words from the mouth of Hasdrubal. "Guards, seize this know-nothing calf, Barak, and this treacherous bull, Sunatus." Thank you for listening. To hear more of the story, please come back soon, or you may purchase your own copy on Amazon. Just follow the link below. Until next time.